Hello and welcome to the Musical Instrument Investigator. Today on the website of Amati Auctions based in the UK, I'm going to have a look at their latest sale, which is the affordable sale, which is actually finishing tomorrow on the 25th of September. It's the 24th today. So those of you that are new to this YouTube channel, we're just looking over this auction catalogue really briefly. The affordable stuff is kind of stuff of lower value, things which need repair, unknown provenance, all of that kind of fun stuff. Just to say, this is a UK based sale, so if you're looking to buy from abroad, check out the terms and conditions, shipping, etc. The buyer's premium on this particular auction is 22%, so you have to add that to the final hammer price, so bear that in mind. Just like to say, if you do enjoy these videos, please consider subscribing, like, comment, etc., because it really does help. Now, I haven't done many videos recently because, being honest, like, September has been absolutely insane for me. I really just don't have the time, unfortunately, so I'm going to whiz through this auction really quickly, but do check it out yourself if you're interested. We're just going to pick out kind of a few items here as we go through. There's a few interesting things for sure, some bits maybe not so interesting, but I think definitely worth your time. I will try and spend a bit more time on things in October in regards to auctions, but unfortunately September is just not great really, so bear with me on that one. So yeah, a few kind of cellos here as well. We're not going to go into this too much. This is an interesting cello, currently set up with gut strings there, cello unlabeled, so bear in mind on the Amati site you can spin it round. Obviously some interesting kind of edge work here. It's a curious looking thing, looks like it needs a bit of a TLC for sure, but an interesting one. Let's see what they say here. Open seams, bottom rib, treble side, chips and wear on cello. See lots of closed cracks, massive problems on the ribs there, so that is going to be an interesting one for sure, but I really like that. I think it's pretty cool. So we're just going to have to unfortunately just blitz through a lot of this. It's interesting, this cello has been enlarged. That's kind of a curious one that you don't see too often. You see here, yeah, it's got extra pieces there, maybe like a child's cello that's been enlarged, and also down the bottom. So yeah, that's kind of curious. Do sometimes, I guess, see that with some violins, but usually it's things have been reduced, like from a viola to a violin, or a really a larger cello to because some of the early cellos were really quite big, were reduced. But yeah, kind of odd that, so worth looking at. Otherwise we're gonna just go through to see if there's something super interesting. Actually, that cello is interesting. 1600 is on this one. I think it's mainly because it's in pretty good condition. I don't see anything super exciting about that. This is a kind of quirky looking cello. Interesting F-holes. A lot of work done to this, so it's got a massive piece of new wood there on the front. Don't know if we can see that on the pictures. Yeah, something very odd condition on that, but still it's got £400 bid on it already. Interesting viola d'amore there. Seems like fairly nice looking, not too old. So Ernst Schettelig, Mark Nickerkin there, 425 on that, so that's doing well. This I quite like, viola labelled D Mills in Baroque setup. It's kind of quite cool. It's got heavy crackle all over the varnish, but yeah, I quite like it. Anything Baroque, I think, in a Baroque setup I quite like. Nothing too crazy, but could be a cheap enough Baroque viola for someone. Otherwise, I think we are just going to have to blitz through this, unfortunately. But have a look at the link in the description and check things out yourself. Few violas in this auction for sure, and some of them I think are decent. This is interesting viola, labelled Peter, is it Gresswell, or something like that. Yeah, a very kind of pale varnish, almost like a kind of base kind of stain. Charlton Kings. Okay, interesting. 1981. Just nothing super exciting there. Few bows here. Cello bow, J. Vickers. See if there's anything super interesting or not. Quite a few bows in this sale. Silver mounted there. Definitely think it's worth looking at if you're interested in bows. But I think for the purpose of getting through the auction, we're not going to go too crazy on that. Let's just have a quick look at this silver mounted bow, unbranded. It's had some heavy knocks and needs a lot of restoration there. Okay, silver mounted violin bow, branded W.E. Hill & Sons. It's kind of an interesting bow, but a big crack at the head there. £190 on that already, so I think that could be a nice Hill bow there. That's had an unfortunate life. So a few of these could be fairly nice bows. Interesting, nice octagonal stick there. Obviously check all the weights and everything like that. If you can look at the stuff in person, then do that. So we're just blitzing it through. Obviously have a look at the catalogue in your own time. That's what I would normally do as well if I had time, but we're just kind of looking for anything which might just stand out as being interesting. That's one of these kind of Violin style bows. The frog there looks like there's a bit of a crack on the sticker at the end. There's a bit of an open crack there. Interesting wood mounted gamba bow. Looks fairly modern. Nick mounted violin bow there. Let's see. Child bow there. A wood mounted baroque bow with some fluting on that. Once again, it doesn't look super old there. Like these old bone mounted violin bows. I think they're pretty cool. Don't know how useful they are for players, but I think they look pretty cool. Let's see what else is going on here. Silver mounted violin bow, branded H.R. Frechner. That's a fairly interesting looking bow there. Yeah, £600 bid on that. I mean, I think the crest on the frog looks correct. I can't really comment on the rest of it, but interesting there. Definitely some potential here. Silver mounted violin bow, branded Otto Schuler, £250 on that. Interesting adjuster. So definitely some potential there. Then we've got some bulk bows there. Not going to look into that at the moment. Like I said, we're going to just try and blitz through this a bit, really, just to show you what is potentially around and if there's anything of real interest here. I have had a quick look at this catalogue in the past when it first came out. I think there's not so many super interesting things, being quite brutally honest. But worth looking at anyway. Nice back on this one here. Violin labelled Paolo Magini. Looks like a fairly standard thing there. Violin labelled James Nicol Reed and John Morgan. That looks kind of okay enough, and nothing too crazy. What's the measurements on that? 254, seems pretty good. Violin labelled Jean Morlot. It doesn't look too bad, that violin there. 250 bid on that one. interesting fingerboard on this. I think it's something fairly simple there. Oh, kind of contemporary Baroque violin or something, for a fairly low budget one. Violin labelled Pedrozzini. This is a fairly interesting violin here, labelled Cahusac, really interesting F-holes, and the back there's had quite a lot of work done to it. 110 on that. That I think is, yeah, it's not too bad. There's a few funny bits going on with new wood, but it's a fairly interesting violin. 2/4 length of the back there. I've not really paid attention to see if there's many bids on any of this stuff. It's like a fairly generic, better quality trade instrument there with the better quality line. A few instruments here with kind of Baroque-ish classical setup there. 240 bid on that. Kind of simple French there. Violin labelled John Gibson, which definitely shows some kind of amateur work there, but curious enough anyway. This I think is fairly interesting. Some quite wide grain on that. Quite like the F-holes, nice on the back. Yeah, that is one that I quite like there. Measurements 251. And in between is some fairly generic stuff, some better than others. So to study all the pictures, definitely worth it. I think there are a couple of good things in this auction for sure. Let's see what else is going on. Yeah, generic kind of stuff here. I said we're just going to have to be pretty brutal these days, I think, about how we look at this stuff. Violin labelled repaired by J. Hartle. Interesting F-holes on that. All fairly kind of similar stuff here. This is a curious looking one. Violin unlabelled. Pretty bonkers F-holes on that. Just kind of curious, kind of amateurish thing, I would assume. Oh, he seemed to have gone one ahead there. Violin branded D. Johnstone. Once again, looks like kind of amateur work there, and the scroll varnish looks quite different there. More kind of fairly generic stuff. You can see not too many bids on some of this stuff. This is fairly interesting. Violin labelled Carlo Gonzi. Kind of curious F-holes on that. Back not so exciting. Otherwise we're seeing just different variations, I think, of mass manufactured instruments. Let's actually just have a quick look at this one, just in case. So I think I've had a look at most of these things in the past. Obviously, if you can get, I think these affordable sales, you need to do the viewing is at their office. There's no London viewing or anything, but worth having a look if you get the opportunity. Violin labelled Taylor Lethbridge. Okay, let's have a quick look at this one. Just variations on the same theme here. Violin labelled Colin Mazar. a mixture of trade stuff, some amateur work, and a few other kind of like semi-curious things in between, for sure. I think there's also some other accessories in here as well. It's one of those Richard Rubus kind of rounded instruments. If you haven't seen one of these, there's loads of these about, these rounded edges, made in Germany, I think, maybe for the Russian market. I think some people have said before that there were some that were actually made in Russia, but not sure about that. One of these modern Chinese song violins that you get on eBay. Just generic stuff here. JTL. Violin labelled H. Porret. Got dark varnish on that one. Once again, fairly similar stuff coming through here. Right, this is, I think, probably my favourite violin in the auction, although it's in a pretty awful state, just because I like anything in a kind of classical baroque setup, and it's a bit mashed up, and I like stuff that looks a bit distressed, really. So I think that's quite curious. Neck graft there. I seem to remember when I looked at this in the viewer, I think this doesn't have much arching, which is a little bit concerning, but then you do get some stuff like Krask and other makers that is pretty flat, but I could be wrong. Yeah, no, look at the back, it has almost nothing on the back and not much on the front either. It's a real curious one, but I kind of like it. Let's have a look at the condition here. Yeah, definitely some issues. I think there's potentially some more issues on this that aren't captured, but it's 170 bids so far. It's already a little bit beyond what I'd be interested in paying, to be quite frank. This 3/4 doesn't look too bad, actually. It looks fairly nice. Interesting corners on that. That might sell pretty well. 190 is pretty good already. I think we are probably coming close towards the end of the instruments, I would think. But there may be a few more to go. Can't quite remember how many there were. Ooh, fairly similar stuff here as well. Let's see if there's anything else going on here. It's all pretty much fairly generic. It's slightly more interesting Magini model there, but once again just another trade instrument. Let's see what else we got. So just quickly check this one here. Violin labelled Francis Palliot. Okay. Violin labelled Stradivarius. Once again, all fairly similar on this one. This is an interesting violin. A violin labelled Luigi Baroni, 220 bid on this. I'm pretty sure that this was in one of their main sales, and I have to say I actually really like the looks of this. I like the wood choice on it. I just think it's quite interesting. It's obviously got some issues going on, but I think it's just interesting, a bit different to some of the other stuff. So that I quite like, but too many problems going on here. Looks either cracks or worm tracks. I think my days of dealing with broken violins are kind of gone at this point. Too much effort, but otherwise I do quite like that. This is kind of fairly interesting. I think this is just like you know, another trade violin, but actually it's quite a nice back on that. It's fairly interesting. So a curious one. 7/8 violin here. See, the internet is not wanting to load up these pictures today. Okay, well, we'll take the hint and just move on then. Dictionary of violin and bow makers. So for whatever reason, the internet is not liking certain things, but all the standard books I think we have here, nothing super crazy. We see these same books over and over again there. Some cases there, gorge case. Oh, these will always sell pretty well, really good quality cases. Paxman there, bit outdated those Paxman cases, but still probably pretty good. Cello cases there. So again, they always do pretty well. A few bow cases. I think we are coming to the end for pack violin case. Double violin case there. I think that is it. I think we're at our limit there at 294 lots. That says total lots 290, but not sure what's going on there. Maybe some have been removed or something. But anyway, there you go. That's the Amati affordable sale finishing tomorrow on the 25th of September. That was a pretty kind of ropey overview, to be honest, but summary is a couple of things interesting here and there from instrument terms, and definitely some bows. If you want to spend the time looking, you'll probably find some interesting bits. Few things that I thought were okay. Not a crazy auction, not the worst, just kind of neutral. So if you're interested, check out the catalogue. Feel free to kind of ask questions, leave comments if you have any. I'll try and answer them the best I can. So once again, thanks a lot for watching, really appreciate it, and I'll catch you next time. Bye.